I took a night security job at a corporate office park because the pay was decent and all I had to do was sit in a guard shack watching monitors from midnight to 8 a.m., making sure nobody broke into the dozen buildings scattered across the property. The first 3 weeks were completely uneventful, until last Tuesday when I watched camera after camera go black in sequence and I realized someone was systematically working their way toward my location. The job was simple. I showed up at midnight, the day shift guard would brief me on anything unusual, which was always nothing, and then leave. I'd sit in the security office, really just a small building near the front gate, and monitor 16 CCTV cameras positioned around the property. Parking lots, building entrances, the main road. If anything moved, I was supposed to call the police. In 3 weeks, the most exciting thing I'd seen was a deer walking through the east parking lot. I'd started bringing my laptop to watch shows during the shift because nothing ever happened. Last Tuesday started like any other night. I relieved Dave at midnight. He said everything was quiet, told me to have a good shift, left. I settled into my chair, checked all 16 monitors. Everything normal. Empty parking lots, dark buildings. I pulled up Netflix on my laptop. Around 1:15 a.m., I glanced at the monitors during scene change and noticed something odd. Camera 12, which covered the north parking lot, was showing static, just gray snow, no image. I frowned, checked the control panel. The camera was receiving power, the connection was active, but no picture. I made a note in the log. Camera 12 malfunction. Planned to report it in the morning. Went back to my show. At 1:30 a.m., I looked up again. Camera 9 was now static too. That camera covered the west building entrance. 2 cameras out in 15 minutes felt like more than coincidence, but I told myself it was probably a system glitch. Old equipment. Happens sometimes. I was about to call my supervisor when camera 14 went black, then camera 6, then camera 3. I sat up straight, watched the monitors. Every 2 to 3 minutes, another camera would go to static, always a different one, spread across the property. No pattern I could identify. By 1:50 a.m., I'd lost 8 cameras, half my coverage. I called my supervisor. No answer. Called the emergency line. Voicemail. I was getting nervous now. I checked the remaining 8 cameras carefully, all showing normal views. Empty, dark, nothing moving. Then camera 11 went black. That camera was positioned on the east building, about 200 yards from my office. I stared at the remaining 7 screens, watched, waited. 2 minutes later, camera 5 went static. That one was closer, maybe 150 yards away, covering the employee parking lot. My heart started pounding. I stood up, walked to the window of my office, looked out. The property was dark, streetlights illuminating patches of asphalt, buildings' dark shapes against the sky. I couldn't see any movement, couldn't see anyone, but someone was out there, moving between cameras, disabling them, getting closer. I grabbed my flashlight, my radio, went back to the monitors. Camera 15 went black. That was the main entrance camera, about 100 yards from me. I was running out of eyes, only 6 cameras left now. I needed to decide, stay in the office or get in my car and leave. Before I could choose, camera 7 went dark. 50 yards. I could see that camera from my window. I looked out, squinted into the darkness, saw nothing. Checked the monitors. 5 cameras remaining. The views showed sections of the property in a loose circle around my office. Then camera 2 went black. That camera was mounted on a light pole in the visitor parking lot, right outside my building, maybe 30 yards away. I turned off the lights in my office, stood in darkness, watching through the window. I could just barely see the camera, a small shape mounted high on the pole. As I watched, something moved near the base of the pole. A shadow, shifting. Someone was there. I ducked below the window, grabbed my phone, whispered to the dispatcher. Someone was on the property, disabling cameras, getting closer. She said officers were being sent. Stay inside, lock the doors. I crawled to the door, turned the deadbolt, went back to the monitors. 4 cameras left now. I could see most of the remaining cameras from my window if I looked carefully. I peeked over the windsill, saw movement again, a figure, dark clothes, moving between light poles. They were heading toward camera 10. I watched. The figure reached the pole, climbed slightly, did something to the camera. Camera 10 went black on my monitor. 3 cameras left, all within 20 yards of my office. I was trapped. Whoever this was had systematically eliminated my ability to see, had worked their way across the entire property, closer and closer, and now they were right outside. I heard sirens in the distance, police coming. The figure must have heard them too because they stopped moving, stood still. I could see their silhouette against a streetlight, just standing there, looking toward my office, looking at my window. I dropped below the sill again. My hands were shaking. The sirens got louder. Police cars pulled into the property, lights flashing. I saw the beams sweeping across buildings. I looked at the monitors. The 3 remaining cameras showed police cars arriving, officers getting out. I stood up, looked out the window. The figure was gone, disappeared. I unlocked my door, ran out, waved to the officers. They came over. I told them everything, showed them the monitors. 13 cameras showing static, only 3 working. They searched the property, all of it, found something at every camera location. Black spray paint. Each camera lens had been spray painted over, methodically, one by one. The officers asked if I'd seen who did it. I described the figure, dark clothes, medium height. They searched for another hour, found nothing. No footprints, no evidence. Whoever it was had vanished. The officers filed a report, said they'd increase patrols, but there wasn't much else they could do. No damage, except the cameras. No theft, no obvious motive. They left around 4 a.m. I sat in my office, staring at the 3 working cameras, the rest just static. I didn't leave the office for the rest of my shift. At 8 a.m. the day guard arrived. I told him what happened. He said I should quit, that this job wasn't worth it. I agreed. I gave my notice that morning, but before I left, I checked the security logs, went back through the past month, found something that made my skin crawl. 3 weeks earlier, my first night on the job, camera 16 had malfunctioned, showed static for about 20 minutes, then came back online. I'd noted it in the log, called it a glitch, but now, I wondered, had someone been testing, figuring out the system, learning the camera positions, planning? I never found out. I left that job and never went back. But sometimes I think about that figure, standing in the darkness, looking at my window. They'd disabled 13 cameras, had 3 left, and then the police arrived. I wonder what would have happened if the police had taken 5 more minutes, if those last 3 cameras had gone black, if I'd been sitting in that office completely blind, with someone outside, getting closer. I'll never know. And I'm glad I don't. I started working overnight security at a distribution warehouse 6 months ago because I needed a job and didn't mind being alone. But last month, I was doing my 2 a.m. patrol when I found a door propped open that should have been locked from the inside. And when I checked the cameras, I realized someone had been following me through the building the entire time. The warehouse was massive, 300,000 square feet, shelves stacked 40 feet high, aisles that stretched the length of football fields. My job was to patrol the entire building twice per shift, once at 2 a.m. and once at 6 a.m. The rest of the time, I sat in the security office near the front entrance, watching monitors. There were 24 cameras positioned throughout the warehouse, covering loading docks, main aisles, the break rooms, exits. During the day, there were over 100 employees working. At night, it was just me. The building was climate controlled, so it was always quiet. No outside noise, just the hum of HVAC and the buzz of fluorescent lights. I'd been working there for 5 months without incident. The patrols were boring, but easy. I'd walk the perimeter, check all the doors, make sure everything was secure. Usually took about 45 minutes. Then back to the office to watch monitors and scroll my phone. Last month, on a Thursday night, I started my 2 a.m. patrol like normal, grabbed my flashlight and radio, left the security office. The warehouse was dark, except for emergency lighting, dim red bulbs every 30 feet, created long shadows between the shelving units. I walked my usual route, started at the west loading dock, checked the bay doors, all secure, walked down aisle 12 toward the back of the warehouse. That's when I noticed something off. There was a door at the back of the warehouse, employee entrance, led to a small parking lot. It was supposed to be locked from the inside, crash bar that would trigger an alarm if opened. As I approached, I could see the door was slightly open, just a crack, maybe 2 inches, propped with something. I walked over, looked down, a small wooden wedge, holding the door open. I removed it, let the door close. It locked automatically. I felt uneasy. That door had been closed when I checked it during my 6 p.m. patrol the previous night. Someone had propped it open from the inside during my shift while I was in the building. I grabbed my radio, called it in to my supervisor. He was off-site, monitoring from home. He said to check the cameras, see if anyone entered through that door. I walked quickly back to the security office, sat down at the monitors, rewound the camera covering the back door, started at midnight, watched at double speed. At 12:40 a.m. the door opened. From the inside, someone pushed it open, propped it with the wedge, but I couldn't see who. The camera angle showed the door but not the person opening it. They'd stayed just out of frame, deliberately. I felt my chest tighten. Someone was in the warehouse, with me. I switched to the other cameras, rewound them, watched. At 12:45 a.m. I saw movement on camera 9, a shadow passing between shelving units, moving toward the east side of the building. I kept watching. Camera 14, camera 17. The shadow appeared on multiple cameras, always just barely visible, always moving, away from the security office, deeper into the warehouse. I called my supervisor again, told him someone was definitely inside. He said he was calling the police. Stay in the security office. Don't confront anyone. Lock the door. I locked the office door, watched the live camera feeds. I couldn't see anyone now. All the cameras showed empty aisles, dark corners, nothing moving. I waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then I saw something on camera 18 that made my blood run cold. A figure, standing in aisle 23, just standing there, facing the camera. I couldn't see details, the lighting was too dim, but I could see the outline. A person, wearing dark clothes. They stood there for maybe 15 seconds, then turned and walked out of frame. I checked the other cameras, tried to follow their movement. Camera 12 caught them walking. Camera 8 showed them near the break room. They were moving toward the front of the warehouse, toward the security office. I watched camera 3, the hallway outside my office. Waited. The figure appeared, walking slowly, deliberately. They stopped right in front of my door, stood there. I could see them on the monitor. Dark hoodie, hands in pockets, just standing, facing the door, facing me. I didn't move, didn't breathe. They stood there for a full minute, then reached toward the door, tried the handle, locked. They tried again, rattled it. I grabbed my phone. The police dispatcher had stayed on the line. I whispered, "They're outside my door." The figure stopped trying the handle, stepped back, looked up, directly at the camera. I couldn't see their face, the hood shattered it, but I could feel them staring. Then they walked away, out of frame. I switched cameras, tried to follow them, saw them on camera 7, walking back into the warehouse, disappearing between shelving units. I kept watching, scanning every feed. Couldn't find them. Sirens approached outside. Police. I saw lights flashing through the front windows. The figure appeared on camera 12, running now, toward the back of the warehouse, toward the propped door. I watched them reach it, push it open, run outside. The door closed behind them. They were gone. Police came in. I unlocked the office door, let them in, told them everything, showed them the cameras, the footage. They searched the warehouse, top to bottom, found the wedge by the back door, found footprints in the dust in some of the unused aisles, but no person. Whoever it was had escaped through the back door. The officers asked why someone would break in. What were they after? I said I didn't know. Nothing seemed stolen, nothing disturbed. They filed a report, said they'd investigate, increased patrols around the building, but they never found who it was. I kept working there, but I never felt safe again. Every patrol, I'd check over my shoulder, jump at shadows, wonder if someone was following me. 2 weeks after the incident, I was reviewing old security footage for my supervisor. He wanted records from the past 3 months. As I was going through the files, I noticed something. Small gaps. Times when cameras would show static, just for a few minutes, then come back online. I checked the logs. No malfunctions reported. I watched the footage more carefully, found a pattern. Every week, same night, Wednesday, around midnight, cameras would go dark for 5 to 10 minutes. Different cameras each time, like someone was testing them, disabling them temporarily, learning the blind spots. I went back further, 6 months before I started working there, found the same pattern. Wednesday nights, cameras going dark, someone had been breaking in regularly, for months, using the warehouse for something. I reported it to my supervisor. He contacted the police. They investigated, searched the warehouse again, found something in one of the unused storage rooms, a sleeping bag, food wrappers, magazines. Someone had been living there, coming and going through the back door, staying overnight, hiding during the day when employees were present. The police said it was probably a homeless person looking for shelter, but that didn't explain why they'd tried my office door, why they'd stood there, staring at the camera, at me. I quit 2 weeks later. Couldn't do it anymore. The thought of being in that massive building at night, knowing someone might be hiding in the darkness, watching me, following me, it was too much. I heard later they installed more cameras, motion sensors, better locks, but I also heard the break-ins continued. Wednesday nights, cameras going dark, doors being propped open, someone keeps coming back. And I wonder if they're still looking for something, or if maybe they found what they wanted. A place to hide, a place to watch, a place where they can be invisible in plain sight. I've been working as an overnight security guard at a regional hospital for 2 years, and I thought I'd seen everything until 3 nights ago when I was reviewing the hallway cameras and noticed someone in a patient gown wandering the 3rd floor. Except when I went up to check on them, they'd vanished, and the 3rd floor ward had been closed for renovations for the past 6 months, with no patients allowed. The hospital is old, built in the 50s, expanded over the decades. Some sections are modern, some are outdated. The 3rd floor east wing has been closed since last year. Structural issues, water damage. They were doing a full renovation, gutted the entire ward. No patients, no staff, just empty rooms and construction equipment covered in tarps. My job was to monitor the cameras, patrol the active floors, make sure the ER entrance stayed secure. Most nights were routine, busy ER, quiet patient floors, nothing unusual. I'd worked there long enough that I knew all the night nurses, all the regular patients, could spot anything out of place. 3 nights ago, I was sitting in the security office around 3 a.m., slow night. The ER had been quiet for an hour. I was flipping through camera feeds out of boredom when I stopped on camera 12, 3rd floor east hallway, the closed wing. Something was moving. I leaned forward, squinted at the screen. A figure walking down the hallway, slowly. They were wearing what looked like a hospital gown, patient gown, pale blue. The figure was shuffling, like they were weak or injured. I grabbed my radio, called the charge nurse, asked if any patients were missing. She said no, everyone accounted for. I told her I was seeing someone on the 3rd floor, the closed wing.
She said that was impossible. That wing was locked, no access. I watched the monitor. The figure kept walking, reached the end of the hallway, turned the corner, disappeared from camera 12. I switched to camera 13, the next hallway, waited. The figure appeared, still walking, still shuffling. I zoomed in as much as the camera would allow. Couldn't see details. The lighting was poor, emergency lights only. The figure moved in and out of shadows. I decided to go check in person, grabbed my flashlight, took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The doors opened to darkness. The entire wing was shut down, no power except emergency lighting. I stepped out. The air smelled like drywall dust and paint. I walked toward the east wing, the hallway where I'd seen the figure.
The entrance to the east wing was blocked by plastic sheeting, construction barrier. I pushed through it, shined my flashlight down the hallway. Empty, just bare walls, exposed pipes, no furniture, no equipment, and no person. I walked slowly down the hall, checking every room. Doors were propped open, rooms gutted, nothing inside. I reached the end of the hallway, where I had seen the figure turn the corner, looked down the next corridor, also empty. I called out, "Hello? Is someone here?" My voice echoed. No response. I walked back to the security office, checked the cameras again, rewound camera 12, watched the footage from 5 minutes ago. The figure was there, clear as day, walking down the hallway. I watched them turn the corner, checked camera 13. They appeared, kept walking, then exited the frame. I rewound further, tried to see where they came from, watched from midnight forward at double speed. At 2:58 a.m. they appeared, camera 12, just appeared mid-hallway, like they'd stepped out of one of the rooms. I zoomed in on that section of hallway, counted the doorways, figured out which room they'd come from, room 3127. I grabbed my flashlight again, went back upstairs, found room 3127, pushed the door open wider, shined my light inside. The room was gutted like all the others, bare walls, concrete floor, no furniture, no equipment, but there was something. In the corner, a pile of blankets, and next to it, food wrappers, empty water bottles. Someone had been staying there. I backed out of the room, called my supervisor, told him what I'd found. He said to call the police, don't touch anything. I called 911, told them someone was squatting in the closed hospital wing. Officers arrived 20 minutes later. I took them upstairs, showed them the room. They searched it, found more than just blankets and trash. They found documents, medical records, stolen from the hospital, patient files, drug logs, controlled substance inventories. They found a hospital ID badge clipped to one of the blankets. It belonged to a nurse, former nurse. She'd been fired 3 months earlier, caught stealing medications. The police said they'd look for her, asked me to review all the security footage, see how long she'd been hiding in the hospital. I spent the next 6 hours going through recordings, found footage going back 3 weeks, the same figure, appearing on cameras, always late at night, always on the 3rd floor. She'd been living in that room for weeks, coming and going through a service exit that wasn't alarmed. She knew the hospital layout, knew the camera blind spots, had been stealing supplies, food from the cafeteria, medications from supply closets. She'd been hiding in the hospital the whole time, living there. The police found her 2 days later, arrested her at a pharmacy, trying to sell stolen medications. She confessed to everything, said she'd lost her apartment after being fired, had nowhere to go, started sleeping in the hospital, in the closed wing where she knew no one would look. But here's what bothers me. I watched all the footage carefully, every instance of her appearing on camera, and there were times, several times, when she wasn't on the 3rd floor. She was on active floors, patient floors, walking through hallways, past nurses' stations, in her hospital gown, looking like a patient, and nobody stopped her, nobody questioned her, because she looked like she belonged. She'd walk right past staff, past other patients, invisible. The police asked if she'd ever entered patient rooms. I checked. She had, dozens of times. Walked in, stayed for a few minutes, left. The police searched those rooms,
found some of her belongings hidden in closets, under beds. She'd been using occupied patient rooms as storage, walking in while patients slept, and nobody ever knew. The hospital upgraded security after that, added cameras, changed locks, installed alarms on all service exits. But I can't stop thinking about those recordings. Her walking through hallways, past nurses, past security, completely unseen. And I wonder how many other people might be doing the same thing. How many others might be hiding in plain sight, walking through hospitals, through buildings, through our lives, looking like they belong, looking like patients or employees or anyone else, when really they're ghosts, living in the spaces we've forgotten, in the floors we've closed, in the rooms we think are empty, until one night you check the cameras and you see them walking through the darkness, and you realize they've been there all along.